Welcome back, y'all. I want to start with this. No one ever really talks about what happens after you decide to stop being the strong one. You see, there's a phase that comes after that decision, and it can feel eerily quiet, uncomfortable, and if I'm being honest, it can be a little lonely. Yeah. And if this is something that y'all can relate to, if it's landing for you, please let me know in the comments. All right. If you are joining us for the first time, welcome. So happy to have you. This is I Am Becoming Her with Yvette. And in this space, we navigate midlife issues and what it means. We unpack, I always get that mixed up. Okay, so in this space, we navigate those difficult midlife issues and we unpack what it means to literally just begin again. All right, let's get back to our regularly programmed schedule, shall we? Okay, so if y'all didn't have a chance to check out my last video where I talked about why it's so hard to ask for help as a recovering strong Black woman, check it out because it will provide some pretty necessary context to really understand what I'm talking about today. Which is or shall I say, what I have coined the cocooning phase. What do I mean by that? When I talk about the cocooning phase, I'm talking about how y'all know how when the butterfly transitions from being a caterpillar where he's crawling on his belly to becoming a beautiful butterfly. It's a lot of changes that caterpillar has to go through to become a butterfly. Y'all agree? It's not something that happens overnight. That's what really what I want to zero in on. It's something that happens over time. So within that time, there's a lot of rewiring, development, it's a lot of change that takes place. And so, and again, I'm speaking from my experience. As I was going through my cocooning phase, I struggled. I struggled because, for one, there's no guidebook or roadmap that exists for us strong Black women teaching us this is how you do it. There's none of that. And yeah, I could Google maybe, and Google might be able to give me a couple of, I don't know, pointers on how I could proceed. But what does Google know about recovering from being a strong Black woman? What? So again, you're left to kind of, figure it. You're left to kind of navigate in kind of a dark space and figure that out on your own. But hopefully today I'm able to give you a sense of direction on how this Black woman was able to, I haven't completely figured it out, but I feel like I've made some progress. And so hopefully y'all will be able to benefit from some of the missteps that I've made in trying to transition out of the strong Black woman persona. Yeah. So, I think what's been so difficult is that when you're in this cocooning phase, you're in between two worlds, right? You're still in that world of being the one that everybody can depend on, and you show up for everybody, no matter how tired or just overwhelmed you are. So you got one foot in that stage of your life, but then you've also are just trying to navigate into a space where you're not fully who you are becoming yet. You're getting there. You're inching forward. You're inching forward, taking a few steps back, inching a couple steps forward, taking 5 steps back. Yeah. It's a lot of that. So I think also what has been so challenging for me is letting go of who I used to be. And because you're trying to figure out what parts of yourself to keep that are healthy and what parts you need to discard that are, dare I say, toxic. Oops, right? I think one of the most difficult parts of another difficult phase of transitioning out of the strong Black woman persona was after you find yourself just, shedding and letting go of old versions of yourself. Then you kind of get to this phase of mourning or grief. Because as you're transitioning and you're going through all of the things that you have to go through to get to the other side, you're starting to realize some things. And I think what I didn't really quite have that conversation with myself about was what it was going to feel like once I got there, right? I didn't configure what it was going to feel like when I was ready to bring everybody along with me on this journey, now that I have made it to the other side, only to realize that there were people, there were relationships that I wasn't going to be able to bring with me. And so there was grieving with that. I was grieving relationships that were shifting, right? The land was settling beneath me, and that wasn't easy. And I was realizing in real time that not everyone was able to come with me into that next chapter of my life. Because I'm going to tell y'all something. There are people who are so attached to the old version of you that they're so attached to the old piece of you that they benefit from you staying you. Because I'm going to tell you something, and it's not their fault. They only know the old you. You've been, in your mind, you've been shifting, you've been changing, you've been evolving. But they weren't on board for that. They weren't privy to all of the changing that's been taking place. So if you just out of the blue, and it feels like out of the blue to them, but it's really not, but out of the blue, you just kind of step to them and you say, hey, this is how I'm navigating now. This is how I'm showing up. They're kind of looking at you like, who are you? And where's my girl? Where'd she go? They don't know how to relate to you. So one of two things is going to happen. Either you're going to be bouncing back and forth between the old version of you to continue to fit in to that world, or you're going to make peace with the fact that you're not you're not that person anymore, and your people can't relate to you. Or you're just going to be able to step out and leave people behind. And that's part of where the grieving comes in. And it's weird because you're grieving a version of yourself that you have become intimately involved with for so long. And now you're realizing that part of you, it doesn't fit anymore. And so that's moving. I guess I'm kind of moving ahead, and I'm sorry, y'all. I'm all over the place today, but so you're moving from the grief to this phase of discomfort, because although kudos to you, you've made it to the other side. Now you feel alone. You feel misunderstood. You feel, in some instances, judged, because people don't know how to relate to you. And I want to talk about what's kind of helped me get through that. And it's in no particular order. So journaling is one thing that has helped me just kind of, get things out, and, just deal with all of the things that I'm feeling inside. And it's not for everyone. I'm just talking about what's worked for me. Another thing that has been helpful is, I'm going to say it, therapy. And I'm not just because, I'm a psych person, but I just feel like therapy is that space that you get to just go in. You can just be your complete messy self. You can be needy, you can be all the things, and no one's there to judge you. And then it's a space where you don't have to worry about what anybody else thinks. You get to just air out your dirty laundry, and just have a space for yourself, right? And then another thing that I want to just kind of throw out is just being still. Being still and allowing the wisdom to seep through. I think being still has probably been like one of the most powerful things that I've done for myself, because it drowns out the noise. Because I'm one of those people that's very cerebral. I'm always in my head and I'm always thinking about things. And so when I finally get to a point where I've just kind of allowed the noise to just kind of, just kind of phase it out, I'm able to arrive at a space of clarity. And this leads me to the next thing, which is prayer. When I'm in those still moments, it's the stillness. It was the stillness that has allowed God to come in and for me to hear hear him, because he's always there, but it was the stillness, was what allowed me to really hear and feel him and allow him to guide me, right? So those are just some tools that I have found that have been really helpful for me. And here's what I want y'all to also know. I'm learning in this phase of my life, it's not a sign that something is, I'm not in this space because something went wrong. I'm learning that this is actually a sign that something is changing. The cocoon, I'm taking it back to the cocoon. The cocoon it's not a place where you're stuck. Not at all. It's a place where you're being transformed. Okay? And that, even though it feels weird, it feels it just feels different. It's a beautiful space once you finally allow yourself to just kind of take it all in. And I did not realize how much I was rambling. I hope, honestly, this has been helpful for you. And if y'all have made it to this place with me, if you're still rocking with me, please go ahead and drop a purple heart in the comments to let me know that you're still here. I would really appreciate that. Okay, so we're gonna get ready to just kind of close it out. Ladies, if you're finding that you're in this season where things feel a little off, they feel quiet, they feel uncertain, or if you feel like you're just shedding parts of yourself and you just feel, what's the word I'm looking for? You just don't feel like yourself. You're not lost. You're exactly where you're supposed to be on your journey. And the most beautiful part about all of it is you may be in the middle of becoming. Yeah. And with that, I want to thank y'all for being here with me today. And I want you to continue leaning into the woman that you are becoming. See y'all next time.